In today's session of Divorce Court, Renee Boozer says she knew her husband Steve was cheating on her.
He has not touched me in 3 months. He told me he was still in love with his ex-girlfriend. I found a love letter in his wallet. He also had an affair with my sister.
Ooh. But when she caught him using a dating service, the marriage was over.
I'm 5'7", 125 pounds. I have auburn hair and green eyes.
You just happen to have this kind of irresistible personality that people want to be with you. Is that it?
I guess so.
Now Renee Boozer wants justice as she faces Steve Boozer in today's session of Divorce Court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is the matter of Renee Boozer versus Steve Boozer. I'm advised that after 10 years of marriage, Mrs. Boozer, you're ready to end it. Why?
For starters, 8 months into our marriage, I was 5 months pregnant with our first child. He told me he was still in love with his ex-girlfriend.
That's a great way to start a marriage.
There were several others
I did tell her
in
that,
between
Your Honor,
that.
but I told her before I did any actions on it. We talked through it. I thought everything was fine over.
Yeah, but she kept popping up years after years after years. It just one right after the other.
Well, that's
She never.
That was
So
not
the
my
ex
fault.
never got out of your life?
No. And I had went away to kind of get a little vacation to see my best friend. I come back and I find a love letter in his wallet to this girl. He tries
The ex?
The letter.
Yes.
The
You
letter
found a
that
love
she
letter
is
to the
talking
ex?
about.
Yes,
the
to the
letter
ex.
was written
This
to
is-
help
this is
a
good one.
friend.
Oh, yes.
Was written to your ex to help a friend?
Right.
He told me that he
and
wrote
another
it
guy
so he
was
could
working
teach one of
together.
his friends how to write a love letter to his girlfriend.
Right.
Oh, come on.
I had it stored.
That's what I
You
said.
couldn't come up with a better line
Well,
than that?
I had it in my wallet.
Uh-huh.
I never delivered the letter to anybody. It was in my wallet.
So if you were writing the letter to the ex to teach a friend how to write a love letter, why didn't the friend have the letter so that he could use it and learn from it and practice with it?
Because I
it
wrote
wasn't
it
meant
the
for
night
friend,
when I
it was
came
meant
home
for the
from work.
girlfriend.
You did what?
I wrote it when I came home from work. He was wanting to talk to this girl.
And your wife just happened to find it the same night you wrote it?
Right.
And you had to stuff it in your wallet?
No, I had it in my wallet to give to the gentleman the next day.
That's what I mean. But to get it in
It
your
was
wallet,
hanging
that
out.
meant you had to fold it in small
yes.
pieces,
It-
right?
Yeah.
And it stated the reason why I
And you
had left
expected
was
your
because
wife
of
to
her.
believe that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Then what happened, Mrs. Boozer?
Well, several girlfriends later,
Several?
I would say yes.
I never had any girlfriends during our
No,
marriage.
I was pregnant
I
with my
never did
second child. It was
anything
before this.
Hold on,
outside.
let her finish.
Before this incident, we went to a party. At this party, a female. I'm about ready to give birth. I'm just a couple of weeks away.
This to the third child?
This is my second child. This is before this letter incident. She tried to start a fight with me. The reason why she was so upset is because she was expecting Steve to show up by himself that night, and
Well,
instead
that's not
he
my
brought
fault. I
his
had
wife
nothing
and
to
his
do with
son
that.
with
So
him.
then she was ready to fight you?
Yes, she was ready to fight me.
Did you tell her you were coming without your wife?
No,
Oh.
I did not tell her I was
You
coming
just
at all.
happen to have this kind of irresistible personality that people want to be with you. Is that it?
I guess
Oh,
so.
yeah, apparently.
All right.
Well, after that, a few years down
You
the
forget
line,
to tell him you're married?
No, she knew I was married.
Oh. Didn't matter.
Apparently not.
but back in '95, he also had an affair with my sister.
Well, oh. Come on.
This was
Now,
after.
wait a minute, Mrs.
This was after she
After
had
what?
told me she had an affair in our house
It is
while
not
I was
true.
at work with one of my
If
best
you
friend's
recall-
husbands.
Oh, wait a minute. So now this is the sharing. You have the affair with the sister. You have the affair with the best friend?
No, the affair with my sister happened for at least 6 to 8 months. I know it was before we conceived
That is
our child,
totally
our daughter.
untrue.
Yes, it was before
That
we
is
Well, let me
conceived
totally
our
ask you
daughter.
something. Even if she had had an affair with somebody else, which she denies,
And our
you say that that justified you having an affair with another person. Why did it have to be her sister?
because she lived with us, it was more of a convenience because he didn't have to leave the house.
Really, the
I had
affair-
mommy's weekends.
So you mean your sister lived with you for 6 to 8
The
months,
affair that
and
went
they
on
had an
was
affair
not
and you knew
even-
about it?
It was not
I
even
knew
an affair,
here,
Your
but I
Honor. It
wouldn't-
was
I
nothing.
didn't know here.
You knew in your mind, but you wouldn't accept it in your heart.
That's basically
There-
it. And
there was
that's
nothing
the reason
going
why
on.
I
It was
had
not
the
an affair.
What do you call it?
I don't call it anything. There was nothing going on.
That's why I was sent away for mommy's weekends so y'all could be by yourselves all weekend long.
I didn't
What's
have
mommy's
anything to do with
weekends?
that.
According to him, I worked too hard. I had too much on my
mind.
mind, and I deserved time away from the house and the kids.
You
so I
stayed
had the
gone.
weekend
You
to
went,
myself.
You went
Every
off
weekend?
on
So
weekends.
full of it. No, ma'am. I went twice in maybe a year and a
You
half.
constantly went off on
You
weekends
are
and
so
stayed gone all
full.
weekend long. I never knew where you were.
Never did. Every
Wait a
time
minute, so
we
what
went,
about your
you
affair?
went.
He said you had one.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am, I did. I will admit to it. Our daughter, it was after our daughter was born.
Second or third daughter?
We've got 3 children. Our daughter's the only one we have. She's the last one. This friend happened to come over.
Yeah, happened to come over.
He just happened
Stayed
to
over
come
there
over.
all
Yes,
the time.
his wife had left him, and I had her vehicle because I carried her to her drop-off point, I should say, and he had to come to the house.
So you
to
helped
pick
the
her
wife
car.
leave him, and then when he came over
Right.
and got with you?
Right.
I was sitting there.
This was before. Your Honor,
I had a couple
this
of
all
beers.
happened
Going-
before I did anything out of the
You are
unusual.
But I'm
lying.
saying you
tell the
had-
truth for once in your life.
Mrs.
Tell
Boozer,
the truth.
You
This
had
is the
wife's
first sign
car.
of trouble we had in our marriage.
You drove her to wherever she was going to leave her husband, and then to the drop-off point, and then her husband just happened to come over to your
It
house.
wasn't that very same night. No, ma'am. It was the night, at least the next night or the night after that. I was
Ooh,
sitting.
that's a
and
long time off. I mean,
I was sitting and watching TV, and I was drinking a few beers. He'd come up and asked me had I heard from his wife.
That's been your problem all
And
along. You
I told her no, I hadn't
drinking
heard
beers.
anything from her yet. He says, well, I come to get the car. I said, all right. He had sent his brother back home in his truck, and we was just sent the kids were in bed. We were sitting there talking. I was watching TV, and just I had a little bit too much in me, and
Yeah.
it just led from one thing to the
and
next.
so the talking led to something else.
But I told him
Joe,
the very
you know what?
next
I have
day.
learned
You
one
told me
thing in
3
this
weeks
courtroom.
later.
Hold on.
You were lying.
Do not talk to people.
That's the message.
I can't take it back. You know, I'm being honest. I can't take it
And
back.
about a month
No, you're
after
not
she
being
dropped-
honest. What happened is, it didn't just happen. You are an adult. You're telling me that you have no more control over your life and your body and what you do with it than that. I'm not buying that it just happened. I don't buy that.
Well,
If
the
it was your
revenge might
teenage
have
daughter
something to
walking
do
up
with
to you
it.
saying, Mommy, it just happened. I just happened to have had sex and it just happened, you wouldn't buy it. It doesn't just happen. You knew exactly what you were doing all
No,
while
ma'am,
you
I
were
did
doing
not.
it. Oh, don't tell
I
me
did
that.
not plan that.
I'm not buying it. Not after 3 children.
And the story about me sleeping with your sister did
You
not
knew
come
how you
out
got all
until
those children that
after
it
I
didn't
found
just
out about
happen.
that.
When divorce court returns, the judge listens to evidence Renee has of Steve trying to meet other women.
I'm 5'7" and 125 pounds. I have auburn hair and green eyes. I am looking for a single man.
And Steve makes a startling accusation.
She dropped a bombshell on me about a year after her first affair happened, that she was bisexual.
Are you getting divorced? Do you need Judge Maybelline Ephraim's help settling a dispute? If you want to be a guest on Divorce Court, call 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. Divorce Court is back in the case of Renee Boozer, who says after 8 months of marriage, her husband Steve told her that he was in love with another woman.
So you want to leave him because you want to stay with this other man?
The last time around, I caught him on a dating service.
next year-
And I have tapes
Hold
to
on.
prove it.
You caught him on a dating
I caught
service?
him on a dating service. I was cooking dinner one night, heard him punching a jillion buttons in the phone, it seemed like.
Who was the
I
first
asked
one
him,
on the
I
dating
said,
service, though?
you. I asked him, I
Right.
said, what are you calling? Who are you talking to? He said, I'm listening to my horoscopes. I grabbed the phone from him. He didn't hung up. I hit redial. It was a dating service.
So now,
So-
hold on. He's had relationships, outside affairs with other people, so you say. You've had yours.
I've
The
had
two-
one.
And the two of you have forgiven each other, I take it?
Anybody knows that?
You forgiven each other?
Right, we've worked
pretty
through a
much.
lot.
And you were still trying to be together?
Right. yes,
Till
ma'am.
this.
And then another straw.
Yes, till
And
this.
that was a
Till
dating
Kayla.
service.
Yes, till the dating
Back
service.
before this, she dropped a bombshell on me about a year after her first affair happened, that she was bisexual.
You
and that
are
she
the
had-
biggest
dropped
liar
the
I
bombshell.
have
Right.
ever seen
She
in
said,
my
I'm
life.
bisexual.
Right, and she
Oh,
had
my
placed an
goodness.
ad
You
on
are
a
a
dating
liar.
service to
He
meet.
is
Hold on, Mrs.
liar.
Boozer.
She
You're
had-
trying to shut him out.
Let him
me
talk.
hear him.
She
He's a
had
liar.
placed an ad on a dating service to meet bisexual females.
She told you that?
A
Yes.
liar.
I called and listened to the ad. That's the first time I knew anything about dating services.
So that's how you got the number to the dating
Right.
service? So now she's saying that she heard you calling a dating service. Let me hear. You have a tape recorder there?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I have
This,
two
Joe,
of
would
them.
you bring that to me,
The
please?
first one is
I did not have
Kayla,
any
which is
ads on
myself.
this.
Let me get an understanding of what I'm supposed to be listening to first.
Tape 1 is Kayla's ad, which is myself describing Kayla.
Kayla's ad, and that's you describing yourself.
Yes, as I was pretending to be a woman named Kayla. The second
is that when you're calling to put your ad on about the bisexual relations?
What I done is I had flipped through the ads, and because I called, I didn't when the dating service answered, it didn't say which one it was. So when he went back to work that night, I went through the list in the phone book, and I called every dating service. So I spent 2 hours logging on, and finally I run up on his. And when I did, I had already logged on, so I went back to the main menu, put an ad on as Kayla, and that very same day he answered Kayla's ad.
That's
so,
wrong.
but you said you heard him calling the dating service.
I did not answer an ad.
Yes, but he had told me that he was listening to his horoscopes, and I knew he was lying because he never does that.
Well, this is the tape. Let me hear what's on this tape.
I'm 24 years old. I am a single white female. I have no kids. I'm 5'7" and 125 pounds. I have auburn hair and green eyes. I am looking for a single man. I'm looking for somebody for friendship first and hopefully love later. So if you're interested, box me.
All right, now there's another tape I'm supposed to hear.
Yes, there's a second one there. The second one
just hold on, just let me listen to it. So now this tape should have your voice and your husband's voice.
Yes, ma'am. Telephone conversations, part of 2 of them.
So when are y'all supposed to, well, when's your divorce going to be final?
We're waiting on the court date to come up.
Waiting on court date.
Got all the papers drawn up and everything.
I don't see how you can still live with her, you know.
Steadily looking for another place.
Thought maybe we might should get together on New Year's and do something.
That sounds good.
Meet for the first time. Well, what kind of things do you like to do, or?
That's it?
There's nothing to it. I never went out with her. I never met her. I knew
Was
it was
that your
her
voice?
the whole time. Yes,
You
ma'am.
did not know it was me.
You knew that was your wife?
I was wanting to see how far she was going to take this whole thing.
So she was trying to fool you, and you decided she's trying to, I'm going to play along with this game.
She's trying to
He had
get
no
something
idea.
on me in order
You
to get
had
me
no
out of the
idea.
house so she can have her little bisexual relationships
As you can see
with her
here on
friends
that, you're
while
the
I'm
one
still
Let me hear
paying
what
the
he had
bills.
to say.
my dear.
So you knew what?
She was trying to get something on me on tape because she was taping the whole conversations.
How did you know?
He did.
Because
Because what?
I didn't know she was taping.
Oh,
But
so
I
then
knew-
how did you know she
I
was trying
knew-
to get something on you?
One thing, she's done it before.
I have never.
She's
When we were-
taped your
we were
conversation before
right,
when you
yes,
called a
ma'am.
dating service?
No, when I called her. Several years ago, we were separated.
But that didn't make you know that she was taping this particular
No, but
call.
I know her, and I know she uses the tape recorders a lot.
So based upon that, now you want to leave him? And the marriage is over? After all of the infidelity, the adultery, the actual
Ma'am.
acts of
Your Honor,
infidelity, all
he
this
has
is a
not
phone
touched-
call
he
to a
has
dating
not
service
touched
and you say
me.
it's over.
I've
He has
been-
not touched me in 3 months.
I have been
I had
at home.
calls coming into
What do you
my
mean he hasn't
home.
touched you?
We
I've
have
been
not
working
had sex
14
in
hours
3
a day,
months.
7 days a week for the
Not
past
for the past
year.
3
What do
months. You
expect?
have not.
Do you have another relationship going on that you find more interesting than him now?
Yes,
No,
she
I
does.
do not.
She has a
I don't
bisexual
want another man.
relationship. No,
I don't want
you
another
want
man.
another woman?
Nothing.
relationship with
Right.
No.
You don't
So
want
now
another
you
man.
switch
Me
You
and
to
want
my
another
women?
kids. Me and my kids
So
is
now
all
you
that's
switch
going
to
to be.
women?
No,
Right,
ma'am.
Your
I've never
Honor.
been with no
She
woman.
has a friend she met
That's
on the
his
dating service
fantasy,
3
not
years
mine.
ago. That she
On
is
the
on
dating
the phone.
service 3 years ago.
Right.
So
She's
this is
on
not
the-
a new thing to you?
No, not for her. She's been on this for the past 4 or 5 years.
What kind
Meeting
of pathetic
women,
fool needs to go on
men,
a dating
couples.
service
And what
to find
about
a
this friend that
friend?
she
Give
met
me
3 years
a
ago?
break.
She's got a friend that she met 3 years ago on the dating service.
I'm
She's
not
on the
that pathetic,
phone with
Steve. I have a
constantly.
personality.
She goes to their house almost twice, 3 times
Female
a week.
persons.
Please.
Yeah, right.
It sounds like to me that the two of you were able to live together and keep having babies through all of these affairs, but now suddenly
As
you gotta,
long as
you
I
have
done
to
what
have
he
a
told
divorce.
me to do, everything went fine. I couldn't have friends. My
She
best friend
wants
of
But you
me-
20
stayed there for
years.
10 years and 2 more children. I mean, 3 children.
How
But
many
now
friends?
they
How
suffer.
many female friends do you have to have that you have to sleep with all the time?
Oh, you're so full of
Oh,
it.
let's
I've
end
got
this. What
3
may I do for you
friends.
today?
Well, I would like
Because
12,000.
I'm not buying that it's over all of a
1,200.
sudden because of the relationships and because of the affairs. I think somebody, maybe 1, 2 of both of you, has found somebody that's just so
No.
much more interesting now. You just decided an
Me and
affair
my
is not
kids.
enough. I want to make it a long-lasting thing.
She
No,
wants
me and
me
my
out of the
kids
house
is
so
gonna
she
be it
can
for a
have
long
whatever she
time.
wants and me still paying the bills.
So what you want from this court?
I would like $1,200 for 3 months' rent.
You deciding to move?
No, ma'am.
She's already
but,
thrown me out.
At this point in time, once I do find a job, I will have to have a vehicle to go back and forth. It is much easier for
You
Mr.
said
Boozer to get one.
$1,200 for 3 months of rent. Who's in the property?
Right now, me and the children are.
The same place you were in when you were together?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
are you working?
No, ma'am.
So who's been paying the rent?
Nobody's paying it right now.
And how long have you been living there without the rent being paid?
I've been paying
Since
the
the
rent
beginning of this month.
ever since we
The
moved
mo-
into the house.
The rent for
Well,
this
Well, I'm
month
saying
has
since
not
you
been paid.
separated, who's been paying the rent?
The rent hasn't been paid
Nobody.
for this month. Utilities haven't been paid yet for this month.
So you separated just last month?
Yes, the
just
30th.
a couple of weeks ago. She threw me out, and I lost my job because I had to move back in with my mom,
No, you quit
which is
your job.
150 miles out of where I was working at.
Now, you know what you people sound like? You're so busy having affairs and just enjoying yourselves and having fun and thinking only of your little bodies. You forgot all about that there were 3 children out there. Now, what do we do to make sure there's 3 children, rent's not being paid, the 2 adults not working?
I've already told her if they get evicted from the home, her mother owns the home. If they get
My
if her
stepfather
mother,
owns the home.
if
I
they
don't
get
care
evicted
if her
from the
mother
home,
does own the home. Is somebody giving her that home free?
if they get
Or
evicted
does the
from
bank
the
have a
home,
mortgage on it?
Has a mortgage.
So we're not going to wait until they get evicted. We're not going to play that if they get evicted from the home game.
When divorce court returns, the judge renders her verdict and an update on the case of Tamaria McCollum versus William McQuaig.
He accused me of sleeping with my father. I have a 5-year-old son. He was asking me, why am I looking at my son like that?
Divorce Court will be back in session in a moment. Divorce Court is back in the case of Renee Boozer, who says her husband Steve is nothing but a womanizer who even admits having had an affair with her sister.
This is really sad. Whew. How can I order him to pay rent for 3 months and he doesn't have a job? How can I order you to pay rent for 3 months and you don't have a job? I can't order him to pay the rent. I can't order either of you to pay anything at this point. I can order that you go look for a job, which
I've
I will
already done
order.
that.
But this month's rent is owed to her parents.
yes,
The 2 of you were living together there.
Yes.
I am going to order you to pay half of that to her parents, whoever the landlord is, whatever the monthly rental amount is. But I'll give you until the end of the month to pay that. All right? That's for the sake of the children.
sounds good.
All right, that's the court's order. Court's adjourned.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
When Divorce Court returns, an update on the case of Tamaria McCollum versus William McQuaig.
He like fat women.
Fat women. Don't talk too much about fat women in this court. About the same size as I am now. That,
Your Honor.
Closed captioning for Divorce Court provided by. If you would like to have the judge hear your case in Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. And now for an update on a previous case in Divorce Court. Tamaria McCollum said she had enough of William's jealous ways and wanted a divorce.
He accused me of sleeping with my father. I have a 5-year-old son. He was asking me, why am I looking at my son like that?
You noticed that trait of jealousy and possessiveness before you moved in with him, right?
Yes,
And you noticed it before the first baby.
Yes,
And
but-
before the second baby.
Yes,
And
I
before the
did.
third baby.
Yes, but you
So
know,
what's the problem
love
now
is-
that you've married him?
And she found out he's with a new girlfriend.
She calls me threatening me. She told me, she called me and said, I got 2 bullets in the chamber for you, bitch.
He like fat women.
Fat women. Don't talk too much about fat women in this court. About the same size as I am now. That,
Your Honor.
The 2 of you are not about to start a fight in this courtroom with each other.
Tamaria told the judge that William refused to pay a hospital bill for her while she was pregnant with his child. The judge ordered him to pay half. After court, Tamaria and William's girlfriend Paula got into a cat fight, and they both exchanged heated words. Even though William still insists that Paula is not the reason for his failed marriage, Tamaria still holds her accountable. William says he hasn't seen his child since court because Tamaria refuses to let the child visit him at Paula's house. He hopes they can work out a visitation plan.
The dating service is out of the question. I don't mess with it anymore. The only reason I called it was the fact that I knew she was on it.
No, I don't think I'll ever call another dating service. The only reason why I did this time was because I caught him on it. And I don't think I'll ever do that anymore.
Yes, I do. I believe she's involved with another woman, as well as possibly another man.